Hello YouTube, this is your passport wingman coming at you again with another video, and this is somewhat of a response video, somewhat debunking some of the talking points of a lot of our naysayers and that kind of thing. And this is a response to I was watching a few videos earlier today, and it was one video that was somewhat titled passport derangement. And within this video, they pretty much were saying that it kind of was an attack on passport bros in general. Pretty much, for the most part, because there was a talking point in which some passport bros were saying that a lot of the women overseas were a lot more feminine, a lot more cooperative, which is true. And so some of the naysayers were saying that that's not true, and their response or rebuttal is that because of feminism is spreading all across the world, and because of that, in these countries, the women are not as feminine as we think. We're just, I guess, simps and thirsty, and we're not, as a result of that, we're kind of blind to their real behavior. And they point to people, some of the men in these other countries, I guess, going online in their chats saying that the women there are the same, and all these kind of things. So I just kind of wanted to debunk some of these points, these naysayers, and kind of speak to this issue. Um, few things. First off, for feminism. Okay, first off, feminism. In order for it to work, it costs money to enforce. So in order for feminism to actually work, the governments have to have money to actually enforce, to pretty much prop up women in order for it to really, function and work within the country. For example, United States, you have a lot of women saying that they don't need a man and this kind of thing. And the reason for that is because one, because of feminism, but in addition to that, our governments actually have the money to enforce it. For example, things like public housing. So if a woman is pregnant, they have many programs to kind of make sure the woman has housing to keep her from being evicted. So in that case, you have that going on. In addition to that, you have like I think they're called food kitchens. So anytime, not just women, people in general, if they really need food, that kind of thing, they can always go there and get and go to these food kitchens, and they'll feed the poor, women with children. In addition to that, the women with children, they get food stamps. They have WIC. They have programs to help make sure the women get their children into school. So even if they can't afford it, our government will go ahead and pay for it. So you have that going on. In addition to that, as we all know, if any man rises up against a woman, he gets very loud with her, tries to put his hands on her. At any minute, she can call police, 911. Police are there. They're throwing that guy in jail. So as a result, as you can see in many cases, the government has really replaced men in general. So she does. So in a sense, when some women say, "I don't really need a man," to some degree, you can kind of see where she would form that kind of thinking. Even though it's foolish, but you can kind of see that way because she has, for the most part, daddy government. The government has pretty much become her husband. So in a sense, some women have lost, having value for men, and men's value has completely dropped as a result. Now, in these other countries such as Colombia, Brazil, the Philippines, Ukraine, Peru, any of these second world countries, third world countries, these countries are severely poor. There's severe poverty everywhere. In many cases, they don't have the money to really feed their poor, to really house their poor, to really have these type of programs. So as a result, even though the women may watch, stuff like Cardi B, some of these music videos such as Megan Thee Stallion, when she has videos where she's saying, pretty much like, "I'm never going to be dependent on a man. They're replaceable." They can't really say that in those countries because, for the most part, there is no. I don't believe they do the child support enforcement thing. In addition to that, if you have a baby out of wedlock, you're pretty much on your own in a lot of these countries. I don't know if you noticed, but in South America, it has one of the highest single mother rates, and majority of times, majority of the sex workers are single mothers. Majority of sex workers in these countries are single mothers because the government won't pay for your irresponsible, any irresponsible sex behavior. So if a woman just goes around, she's sleeping with several men, she gets pregnant, the government is not going to really enforce that man paying for the child. And in many cases, there is high unemployment. So in many cases, even if the father in many cases may want to provide for his child, he may not have the means of money to even do that. So in many cases, a lot of these women who wind up getting pregnant have to kind of depend on themselves and wind up, in many cases, um, some of them, if they don't have a husband or a boyfriend or that kind or a family, they wind up, they probably gonna wind up having to, sell themselves for the most part. So you got to keep that in consideration as well. So even though they might have videos down there, even talking about being empowered and all this stuff like that, they don't have food stamps. I actually used to date a girl in which she had let me know that that down there they don't have things like, for example, here in the United States, we have things like secondhand shops in which people would donate clothes and all that stuff like that. They really don't have that down in Colombia. So in addition to providing food and housing for their children, if the woman is not able to work or she has no husband, there's not a lot of charity places she can go to get the supplies she needs to survive. So that being said, when they do see a man who's of means, even a guy who makes $30,000 a year, that's a lot to them. That man can at least provide shelter, food, support, protection. That's very attractive to those women down there. And as I said before, in these other countries, there's like high unemployment. So there's plenty of men who don't have jobs, but they have families and they do little things maybe on the side to hustle. Like maybe they go out and try to sell you, because sometimes when I would go to the malls there, you'll see a guy out there, he buys like a pack of candy and he's selling like suckers, which, I mean, if you think about it, how much money are you going to make off selling like suckers, and especially you're talking about the Colombian peso, which is about a fourth of what like a US dollar would be. So he's not really making that much off of it. So he's probably only bringing in, at most best day, maybe a few dollars a day, he's bringing that in. So and then those women, and then even then, those women really appreciate it because not only are some of the men unemployed, the women are unemployed, and a lot of times they wind up having to live with their families. So when they do meet a man who's of means, who can actually provide for them, of course, these women, a lot of these women are going to be very submissive because that man is hard to come by. So that's why a lot of times when they see American men, if anything else, for you to be able to purchase your ticket to get down there, and you stand at hotels that many of the locals can't even stay at. They know that you have some type of means about you. They know that you're, if anything else, stable. At least you have stability. A lot of the men there are not able to, have, a lot of people there in general don't really have, not able to have real stable lives. So, as a result, you're not gonna find many like Meg Thee Stallion type women down there who just thinks like, I don't need this man. I don't need anything. I just got the government. I saw one article talking about how empowering it is to be a single mother. Ask the women in Colombia or Brazil, is it empowering to be a single mother when the government is not going to provide you with food stamps? They're not going to provide you with shelter. You will see plenty of women, some of them even attractive, living on the street. I actually walked down the street one time and it was this lady there and she had on shabby clothes. Walking down the street right in front of me. She went ahead against this wall, urinated right there on the wall, right in front of me as I was walking. And this is a woman, and you will see lots of this. You will see people on the street, mattress out there. They got their own little coffee table there with their stuff. They're sleeping out there for the night. And this is women too. This is not just men. This is women out there as well. So they, the women there are getting treated the same way that the men are. So that being said, you're not going to get a lot of independent, I don't need no man down there because the government don't support that. Here in the U.S., because we're kind of like, for the most part, especially Western country, we're kind of, I'm not going to say we're kind of rich, but we have lots of funds. So as a result, we're able to actually enforce that and make, men have to respect that and keep quotas of how many jobs, because jobs are more plentiful here. But in these other countries, there's barely any jobs there. And if you think a lot of those men there are going to support women having jobs over them and they have to support families. And in general, women across the board don't tend to like broke men. Just logically, you would know that the men there are going to fight to make sure if there's a job, it's going to go to them before it goes to like some woman just for the fact that she's a woman. That's not going to happen. So in these other countries, it's not like that. And the men you do see complaining about, oh, the women are not as submissive as American men think. Keep in mind that some of these men, I hate to say it, some of them are not gainfully employed. Um, they might be watching the live through like their phone. They might be living with, their brothers and mothers and that kind of thing. They don't have a lot going on. So when they go out and deal with some women don't necessarily want to date them. They're looking for a man that's, his word, stable. I didn't even say rich. Just a man who has, if anything, gainfully employed, even works at McDonald's, has something going for him. They're kind of looking for that. For the most part, as I said, a man with of great means is rarer there. So a lot of times, the women are just appreciative in many cases to deal with a man who's somewhat stable. So a lot of the men there, who I said may not even have a job, might just be living with their parents, dealing with the women there. They're not able to provide for them. They're not able to really help them go out, or, in many cases, even, just do something as gentle as buying them it might be like $5 pair of shoes, just to, treat them, that kind of thing. They're not, some of the women are not really getting that kind of treatment. So, when, of course, American men come there, to us $5 for some shoe, that's like nothing. So, of course, when American men come there, we meet some of the women, especially if, we're kind of treating them, taking them to restaurants they never had the opportunity to go before. Of course, that's going to be very attractive to them. And some of the men there might be complaining because they don't really have the means to kind of do that kind of thing. So, and even then, the thing is, some of those, there's still marriage going on in those countries. It's not like because American men or Western men are flying there that the women of those countries are not marrying men of their countries. They're still doing that in spite of the men not making that much money. What the problem is in some of these other countries, these men are very spoiled. They're very spoiled. You'll find men who have wives cheating on their wives, have several girlfriends, and these are not men with lots and lots of money. These are just men working regular jobs. To have that, they're able to live like this. And so what they're complaining about is, oh, I wanted her to wash my clothes and she washed them, but she didn't fold them. You see how disrespectful she is? Oh, I wanted her to cook me breakfast. She only cooked me some eggs, and I told her I really like my coffee. I like coffee with it as well. She didn't do that. Just like little petty stuff. But the thing is, in America, as as an American man, we barely can even get women to smile at us. Much less so get her to cook us dinner or breakfast. Cook you dinner, how dare you? That kind of thing. So we are definitely blushing and appreciative of the woman who just cooking us eggs for breakfast. Yeah, she didn't bring me coffee, but when you compare that to the American woman who thinks it's an insult for me to ask her to cook, to us, this is like heaven. It's just heaven to us. So all of that talk about, I can assure you, to anybody who's never been to another country, do this to me. I want next time you get a little extra money, take a trip to the DR, even for just 3 days. Just go there for 3 days. Deal with some of the women there. You don't want to go there. If you really have the extra money, take a trip to Colombia, maybe 3 days. Go there for 3 days. Go to Peru, Panama. Even some parts of Mexico. Don't stay away from Tijuana just because to me, it's somewhat Americanized. And in general, Mexico is a little bit dangerous, but that's why I kind of prefer some of the other countries in Lower South America. Slightly more, safe. In any country, in general, please keep your head on a swivel. But I challenge you to go to these countries just for 3 days. Deal with some of the women, whether it's women that whether it's the maid, the women, at the restaurants, just in general. I just want you to just go there and have some interaction. Just ask a woman there for, directions or something like that. And I just want you, and I'm just convinced that you will completely see a difference in the way that those women respond to you and treat you versus the way in America when you're approaching a woman, she automatically thinks you're trying to you're trying to hit on her, or you might be some type of pervert or something like that. It's not like that at all in Colombia. I can assure you. In many cases, You can approach women very easily. They're happy to help you. They're very friendly, and even in many cases, if they're not attracted to you. The thing is, the way they reject men is always in a very respectful and polite manner. You know, versus in the U.S., women rejecting you, they're making a scene. They're trying to embarrass you. They're trying to make you feel bad. It's just completely night and day. So that's my. I don't want to keep this video too long, but in short, this is me debunking that whole video that and the bad part about it is actually a YouTuber I actually like. Which is why I'm kind of disappointed he put that video out. I won't mention names, but he's not the only one that said that. There's been other YouTubers as well saying this thing, because right now there's a thing about dating coaches versus the passport bros. But I'm gonna keep this video short. Thank you for listening to my video. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and until next time, this is your passport bro wingman signing off. Thank you.